button. Oh, all right. And 3, 2, 1.
We're here to light it up. This is Landon Hale, and you're here with Joey G on the Sign Rip podcast.
Awesome sauce. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 37 of the Sign Rip podcast with Joey G. I am Joey G, and tonight, my guest at this time, the one and only Landon Hale. Landon, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, boss. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. So I've never really seen Landon wrestle yet, so he's definitely not ripped any of my signs yet at a show yet. So
None yet.
So we don't know what happens in the future, but he hasn't ripped one any yet, so we'll see. So it's good. Okay, so Landon, tell me about yourself, man. How you been? What have you been up to these days, dude?
Well, I'm also besides whenever I'm not wrestling, I'm in chiropractic school. So I'm getting ready to graduate in March, so I will be having my doctorate by then. So Dr. Landon Hale in the future. Yeah, it's been exciting. Almost there. So other than that, just I guess studying. I'm doing my internship right now, so I get to go to my doctor's office, and I'll get to do adjustments and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. And then on the weekends, I get to break people's backs, man. It's awesome. So it's an awesome gig.
You get to crack people's backs in the week, and then you get to break their backs at the end of the week.
Crack backs by day, break backs by night, brother.
That's actually pretty good, though. No, that's good. No, congratulations on that. With the chiropractic.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. I've been down in Georgia for 3 years now, so just another 6 months, and then I'm actually getting ready to move up to the Northeast after.
Nice.
So it's gonna be nice. Yeah.
Awesome, man. You'll be closer up towards my way. Awesome.
Yeah, my fiance, she's actually from Massachusetts, and so we'll be moving up there after we both graduate. We're both in the program together, so we'll be up there around the Newburyport area this March coming.
All right.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Did you meet your fiance through the program, or?
Yeah, that's how we met. Funny enough, it was through COVID, so it's funny enough because I guess March, whenever there's no wrestling shows going on and they're seeing how the pandemic was going to play out. I didn't have any wrestling matches. My fiance, she used to be a bartender, so she didn't have to work throughout it. So it just fate brought us together, and now here we are. So it's been a good ride, and I love her to death. She's awesome.
That's awesome, man. No, but a lot of people, it's a really cool story to hear that. Like, because a lot of people during the beginning of the pandemic were supposed to stay away from each other, and to hear that you guys met, during the pandemic and connected, that's awesome to hear. So there was some happiness that came out of it.
It's very ironic too, and I will also say as well, like, because I guess with some couples, it's kind of like it's iffy. It's like down the middle when it comes to like having people to support them, or versus like, oh, you're spending too much time on the road. Like she's probably the best support system that I will ever have in wrestling, and I'm very thankful for her to be on these road trips with me, to help me out, like help sell merch and everything like that. She's amazing, so I'm very thankful for her.
That is great. I love hearing that. I'm glad you got such a supportive fiance. So
yeah, she's amazing.
Awesome. So Landon, first off, tell me how'd you get into pro wrestling as a fan? Because obviously everybody's been a fan first. So
yeah, funny enough, so growing up, I was more of basketball than baseball, and I guess I started watching wrestling when I was probably about 5 years old, and I never. What was it? I think it was WCW. I remember I was more of a WCW kind of kid versus WWF, and I remember watching Rey Mysterio and Psychosis, and that was probably my favorite. He's probably my favorite wrestler to this day, Rey Mysterio. That's who I grew up idolizing. I remember watching. I think this was back in the day when it was like VHS tapes and like the old school days, and so I remember going to the movie store, and we would always get a VHS tape, and I remember seeing the first thing. I was like, oh, I want to see what this is about. And I was only 5 at the time, and that ended up sparking my interest with the love of wrestling. And that was something that I watched with my dad, which unfortunately he passed away when I was 7. But it was one of those things that my dad and I would always do, is watch wrestling on Monday night when Nitro would come on. and some like we never really watched any pay-per-views, but we would still keep up to date with like what's been going on with wrestling. But then ever since my dad passed away, I didn't watch it for a couple of years. And then I got back into it. I think this was like when Velocity, like Saturday Night Velocity, Sunday Night Heat was running still. And I remember seeing Rey Mysterio. I was like, I've seen that mask before. Where have I seen him before? And then it was Rey Mysterio. I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And I got back into it. And then ever since third grade all the way up, I've been a fan of it since, just watching it religiously and just understanding storylines, understanding like how the characters are and who they are. Um, and like, I guess starting in like getting into wrestling, I started 3 years ago. So my area, so I'm from Eastern Kentucky, and my part of Kentucky isn't the place. I mean, like there's some wrestling promotions, but it's not like the hot spot for wrestling. Like up in the Northeast, like if there's a wrestling show going on, like everyone's there. Like it's always a good time. But my area of Kentucky, no one really watched it. I wouldn't say respected, but it's just not a popular thing to do there. They'd rather go to the football games, basketball games, and so on and so forth. So I texted. So I guess one of my buddies made a post on Facebook, and this was 3 years ago, and like in the summer, and he was just like, compare two wrestlers, and I'll tell you which one's my favorite. And so I made a post about it, and I was like, I keep asking these questions. I just sent him a direct message. I was like, you know what? I have one life to live. I want to see what it's like. And so I messaged him. I was like, hey, how do you get into pro wrestling? He told me how to get into it. And then in Kentucky, you're supposed to have your wrestling license in order to train or to wrestle. So I was kind of breaking a little bit of the rules there, which is fine. But we went up to my buddy's house, which unfortunately enough, he passed away last month.
Oh, I'm
But
sorry.
it's all good. But we were over at his house, and he had a ring in his backyard. So I literally took my first back bump in a backyard. So I did some backyard wrestling, which is funny enough. And so I took a few back bumps. Like it just felt like I was home. Like it felt amazing. Like I was sore the next day. Don't get me wrong, but it was the best feeling that I've had. And I only took a few back bumps, and then my buddy was telling me that I should train with a guy named Mike Sampson out of St. Paul, Virginia. So it's about an hour and a half from where I live in Kentucky. And I went there. I had 3 training sessions, and then I had my first ever match. And I was supposed to be a ref that night, and ended up being a tournament. And luckily, one of the or two guys, JT Walker and Eric Porter, they were like, okay, let's see what you got. Like we set the ring up, and they're like, let's just go through some trials. Let's see what you know. And then as soon as they saw what I did, like I just knew basic stuff right off the bat, and they're like, okay, we definitely need you in this tournament. And so from then, I had 2 matches that night, and then I was in a rumble, ended up winning the rumble, and then like the next show I was in my first ever heavyweight championship match, and this was like the third show that I was on. So like I grew so much and like fell in love with wrestling. So I ended up moving down to where I'm at now in Georgia, and
Okay.
I've been down here because of chiropractic school. So when I moved down here, I was looking into different schools. So there was Nightmare Factory by Cody Rhodes, which before then I think it was like One Fall, but I think it was ran by someone else before Cody.
Okay.
Then there's WWA 4, which I'm with them right now, training with a little bit with under AR Fox. But yeah, there's a few other schools as well. But then I looked into All Pro Championship Wrestling Academy, and that's where I was trained by Robert Gibson of the Rock and Roll Express. And so I came in. He was just teaching me some more of the basics, making sure I had everything down. I was training under him like maybe once every 2 weeks, and that's just because of school. I didn't know how things were going to play out if I had to spend all my time. So I had to make sure that everything was taken care of on the school side of things. So I didn't go to any shows, and I wasn't booked on any of the shows anyways, just because he wanted to train me a little bit more before getting on to into his wrestling ring to perform. So 3 months go by, everything's settled and adjusted, and I was like, okay, January comes up. I go to the show, first time showing up to Robert Gibson's show, and someone doesn't show up during the match. Like it was like the first match, and someone was talking. They're like, "Hey, so and so isn't." I'm not gonna mention his name, but it's like, "Hey, so and so didn't show up," and Robert's like, "Where's Landon at? We need him real quick." And then as soon as I heard that, they're like, "Landon, you're gonna get ready to go on." So I actually debuted in Georgia on accident by someone not showing up. And then ever since then, it's just been an emotional roller coaster ride of everything, because the next month I had my first ever singles match in Georgia, and it was a good match. And then I ended up like having that teary eyed moment, that like aha moment, like this is like I know that I was meant to do this for the rest of my life if I wanted to. So ever since 2018 of August, all the way up until now, it's just been an emotional roller coaster ride. It's been a fun journey. I'm ready to see where my career takes me.
That's awesome, man. And I love it. It always seems like they always tell you to make sure you bring, or a lot of the guys, even though they're not booked on the show, they're always told to bring their gear just in case. So, because you
Yeah,
never
it's
know if
awesome.
you're going to have an opportunity open up.
Yeah, it's awesome too, and that's definitely one of the first rules that's engraved in the rule book, that you need to keep, like, you need to bring your gear at all times, because anything can happen to where you could be put on the show. So I was very fortunate, very blessed. So ever since then, it's just been uphill. So I'm excited to see where the rest of my career takes me.
That's pretty awesome to and of course not to be to like of course the other guy no shows, it works out in your favor and you finally get to experience that, and just hearing that, man, that warms my heart, because I'm glad to hear an awesome like story like that, because it definitely seems like a roller coaster from starting taking those bumps in the backyard to getting to there. That's amazing, to
And
hear.
what's funny enough too is like 10 months later after my debut, and like I ran a storyline with one of the guys at the school, and I pretty much had like, I think we ran 11 times that year, because we didn't run on Christmas. This was 2019. 9 of the 11 matches that I've had there, all was from his name's Eric Adams. That's his wrestling name, and he was heavyweight champion at the time. And in November, someone no showed. So Robert was at a pay per view. He was doing the NWA Into the Fire taping. So he called. So he called Eric and was like, "Hey, you guys are going to have a." Uh, I guess his opponent didn't show up, so like, so it's just going to be you and Landon that tonight. So I ended up fighting in a tag team championship match, which I lost, and then I was a surprise guest to fight Eric for the heavyweight championship, and I won that night. And so talk about a roller coaster of emotions. So it's been awesome.
That is even more awesome than the
Yeah.
original. I was stoked. Wow, that's really cool.
It gets better too now that we're talking about people no showing.
Oh man, I
So
really need to hear this one. I've been liking these stories so far. I want to keep hearing them.
yeah, so the what was it? I think it was June of this year. I was at there's a promotion called Pro Wrestling Union in South Carolina. Great promotion. And I remember the first time I showed up there, I was fighting for one of their mid card titles, and which they ended up retiring the belt, and they ended up having a new title belt. I forgot the name of it at the top of my head, but there's a guy that was supposed to fight their heavyweight champion. His name's Randy Wayne, and it was supposed to be for the heavyweight championship. Unfortunately enough, the guy ended up breaking his arm. That was supposed to fight him like a couple of months before his fight, and so like, hey, you want to have a match with me? He's like, sure. And then I ended up winning the heavyweight championship there in June. So it's been really cool. Like, just these, I mean, obviously not cool like that someone broke their arm and all that
I
stuff.
got
I'm just saying, like, it just happens to, fall in my favor. And again, I'm very thankful, very fortunate for it. And even though I hate that it's happened to the other guys, because I know they're very deserving of like anything coming their way, because they've worked their butts off for it. But just in those moments itself, it's kind of like, all right, this is really cool how this came about. So very thankful.
Look at that, man. You're winning championships, you're getting opportunities. It's because you're prepared, you're ready to go, you're set when you get there. That is really awesome. I mean, it sucks for the guy, of course, who broke his arm, but it's really good to hear, especially with your young career just starting up and everything, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to see where everything takes me. And I know a lot of people, they have like an end goal, and I do have an end goal, and it's one of those, like, kept secrets of mine. But it's more of, right now because I'm in school, because there's some bookings that I had to, reject, and that's just because of school. And I'm glad, like, so many people nowadays, they understand that you need to get your education first. You need to get had that backup plan, because anything can happen to me in a matter of a second, and I may not be worth anything in the wrestling ring anymore. And so it's good to have that backup plan of being a chiropractor. So I'm definitely tiptoeing around that, but it's more of like I want to enjoy the ride, because I know people, they go from wrestling for 20 years and not make it anywhere, but they're still going, to guys that's worked for maybe 2 or 3 years and they're already under contract and they're big time names, or they're getting ready to be big time names. For me, it's like I would love to have that spotlight, but at the same time, it's more of just enjoy the journey, because I feel like if I rush it, then I'm gonna hate it. And I feel like wrestling's I wouldn't say a hobby; it's a career, it's a passion that you do not want to rush things with. And I feel like I would be miserable if I just try to rush everything. So I'm definitely taking my time with it, and I'm enjoying every second of it.
That's the best thing to do about it, from what I've heard. You definitely don't want to rush your passion out of it, because and that's awesome, by the way, to know that you're like you make sure you got yourself the backup plan. It reminds me a bit of like Britt Baker in AEW right now, who she's also a dentist in real life outside of AEW. So that's really, I'm glad to hear that, because I'm glad you got a good backup plan for you. Plus, knowing that you're in the wrestling thing now, if anybody's got a messed up back in there, they could come to you now.
Let me tell you, that's always like closing the deal on that. Or I'm like, yeah, like I've wrestled for this many years. I'm also in chiropractic school. It's sold. Can you get me real quick? Yeah, I always make that comparison too, like, because I know people are like, hey, like I thought you were, like I saw that you're gonna be a wrestler. Like, how are you gonna do wrestling in chiropractic school? It's like I use the Britt Baker comparison all the time. That's because she's a dentist. She's out of Florida, but she's still doing these trips, and she's still making impacts, and kicking ass, taking names. And so she's been doing great as well. So it's kind of like I use that as an example, because like she's also a doctor, but she's also wrestling. So I get to, that's kind of like the lifestyle that I would want to live, be able to work throughout the week, and then like on the weekends, or like if I'm signed somewhere by then, wrestle like once that week, and then be able to do everything else like that. So I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Just that would that it's definitely possible with the chiropractic career to do that. Like, especially if you got signed to like AEW or something. So it definitely would work out for you in the end. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah. I know AEW is definitely an end goal. I know everyone's got an end goal of, some sort of TV deal, like whether it's AEW, Impact, WWE, et cetera, et cetera. I just know that AEW is definitely an end goal for me. Like it'd be cool to be on Dark. It's just one of those deals where, like, if they want me, then they want me. If not, then I'm just gonna have to keep grinding and just keep doing my thing until I get noticed, I guess. So I'm not too worried about it.
That's awesome. Great positive attitude on that. Now, obviously, you said you were moving up to Massachusetts once you're done with the chiropractic school. Obviously, what indie promotions are you looking into? Possibly, you hope to possibly get into up that way.
Well, during the summer, I know some of the times that we're up there, it's mostly during summer break and winter break, which and this is kind of like a pin in it. So like with our school, we don't go off of semesters where it's like August to December, January to May. Like normal school, it's more of a quarter system. So we go October to December, January to March. So it's kind of like a span of 11 weeks, and then you get a week fall break, a week spring break, and then 3 weeks of summer and winter. So during some of those times, like during the breaks, we would go up to the Northeast, because for us, it's a 6 hour drive to Kentucky. So we can drive anytime we want to. Whereas we sometimes make the long haul all the way up to Massachusetts. And from here, it's an 18-hour drive.
Okay.
So I actually got to wrestle for Chaotic. I actually trained at New England Pro Wrestling Academy under Chase Del Monte, and very thankful that he's been bringing me in and stuff like that anytime. Shout out to Chase Del Monte. And every time that I think, what was that? The last time I was up there was during fall break. I got to wrestle up there a couple of weeks ago, but I was on Chaotix. I think it was like their June show. Whenever they came back, they wrestled at Tewksbury. So I was on their show. I wrestled against Love Doug, and then I
I know that name.
wrestled. Oh yeah, you do. Yeah, he's a good guy. And then I wrestled against Owen Brody the next night at Newburyport Elks. It's Atlantic Pro Wrestling, which is funny enough because the building that they were holding it at was literally down the street from where my fiance's mom lives. So very convenient setup. But yeah, I wrestled Owen Brody for the New England title, and yeah, it was a really good match. But if I was to move up there, I'm definitely looking into like Beyond Wrestling, Limitless, Blitzkrieg, Northeast Wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, those are definitely some of the few. I know Pro Wrestling Magic's up there. I definitely would like to get in that area. I also want to get into the New Jersey scene as well, like Invictus Pro, JCW. So there's a lot of places that I got my eye on for sure.
I'm glad you said Invictus and Northeast Wrestling. Those are two of the major promotions I'm always frequenting and frequenting all the time. You know, Invictus. Northeast Wrestling was obviously my primary indie promotion I was going to for the longest time since 2015. I've been going to NEW, and that's an amazing promotion. Actually, I think the other day you mentioned, or I think it was today actually, you mentioned
It was
about
today.
on my Instagram feed because of the photo I took last night being there in the NEW arena in Bethany. And you would definitely want to get there as a goal.
Yeah, and one of my favorite wrestlers too, Will Ospreay. He was at Northeast Wrestling a few weeks ago or something like that.
I
And I
was
was
there.
so jealous. Like that he's definitely someone I want to have a match with in the future. Don't know how far in the future, but definitely someone. But yeah, I saw that. I was so jealous. But yeah, definitely Northeast Wrestling. Invictus, I definitely want to go up there. On Point Wrestling, yeah, On Point Wrestling. I definitely want to look into them and but yeah, there's a few places in the Northeast. I know it's a good hotbed for wrestling right now, so I definitely want to look in that area for sure, especially when I'm up that way.
Right now on the NEW roster, is there anybody you really got your eye on that you would love to have a match with? I mean, obviously, I know you just said Will Ospreay, but like, anybody frequenting the indie scene?
In the well, I mean, I guess in the Northeast in general, Channing Thomas, I'd like to have a match with him. JT Dunn, Ace
Ooh,
Romero, I know he's a big dude. Alec Price, definitely Alec Price. I think
oh,
what
I
he would
love.
put on. Oh
He's
yeah,
one of my.
he's awesome. Yeah, I definitely want to have a match with him. Um, who else from the Northeast? I've never been in like a intergender match before, but definitely Becca,
Okay,
Davion. Yeah, those are just some of the few. I know there's a lot more at the top of my head, but definitely those guys for sure, and girls.
there are definitely some solid names. I like that. You definitely know your guys up that way. I like that.
Yeah, I didn't really look into like the top promotions up there just because go like coming down to Georgia after Kentucky, I didn't realize there was more, I guess, independent scenes that's better. Like that's the reason. Yeah, I mean, like I kind of look at pro wrestling as like if you were in like if you were trying to make it to the NBA. So it's like you have your high school level, you have your college level, and then you have your pro level. So it's like I felt like I was stuck in the high school level of like these small little buildings, and then now it's kind of like college level where it's kind of like okay, like you get more exposure, maybe some TV, maybe not, but you get a lot of good buzz in that area, and then you have like your big times, like your Impact Wrestling, your WWE, AEW, stuff like that. So I've been doing a lot more research, and I know that when I was talking to or whenever I was dating Jordan, my fiance at the time, I was looking into like some of the places in the Northeast to see if like whenever we do move up there. So I looked into Limitless, I looked into Beyond. I actually went to my first Beyond show back in July, and I definitely enjoyed it for sure. So
That's. I'm glad, man. I
yeah,
definitely would love to see you wrestling up in Invictus or Northeast Wrestling at some point. I don't really go to Chaotic. I mean, well, Chaotic's a little far from me and Beyond is too, but NEW and Invictus, I would definitely be willing to. I definitely would love to see you wrestle in that. Also, I don't know if you ever heard of it, Test of Strength Wrestling as well. That's another spot I'm frequent at.
I did. Yeah, I have heard about Texas Strength as well. I heard they're pretty good. I'll have to. Yeah, I'll definitely have to make a trip up there. Hopefully, I mean,
So,
hopefully, if I'm in that area and everything goes according to plan, maybe Texas Strength as well.
so they're a good one too. Definitely ran by Slick Wagner Brown. So, but yeah. So, but I'm glad to hear that. So going forward, like you said now from 2018 to 2021, and obviously you said the ultimate end goal would be AEW, right?
Right.
Yes. Is there anywhere else you'd be interested in, like big time places like Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact, WWE? You know?
I was actually backstage at Impact,
Oh,
and I
nice.
think yeah, actually I was a security officer. I was a security guard, which is pretty no, not security, sheriff. There was. Yeah, I was a sheriff. Yeah, I got to meet so many people backstage. Everyone's so great. Yeah, Impact's definitely some place that I'd like to wrestle at because alongside Rey Mysterio, growing up after seeing it again whenever I was in like third and fourth grade. Um, I was looking into TNA, and I looked up the AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, like the original TNA members. And I remember saying like, "Oh man, that would be so cool to like wrestle in a six-sided ring." But I know Impact's got a good history, and that would definitely be a place. New Japan, huge fan of. I'd like to do some like New Japan Strong out in California, and I think that'd be really cool. WWE would definitely be a good goal as well. Again, it just pans on with my career because I know WWE wrestlers they're on the road 300 of 365 days, maybe more, and so it's kind of hard on me just because I know that if I was to open up my own office, it would be hard for me to keep my chiropractic license because we have to keep updating every year just to make sure we keep our license. So
I
that's the only
understand.
thing. MLW is definitely a place that I'm interested in as well because I know that they've been growing. They've had a lot of stars that were on there that are now on like AEW and Impact and stuff like that. So that's definitely a place. That's definitely a place that I would like to start off, which would be awesome. So
That's I like those. I like that. So that's definitely the end goals are there, but and I like how you said you still want to take your time with all that and just like enjoy the ride while you got it going. So
exactly, and also on that too, it's like regardless if it's MLW and Ring of Honor is a great place as well. Like like even NWA, like there's a lot of different promotions. Like I just need to make sure for myself that it's the best fit because like I need to realize my style, what I can do in the wrestling ring, and then move forward from there about what would benefit me in the long run. So that's why I don't mind taking my time with it building my character up, building who I am, and then going forward from there.
there you go. So so Landon, I got some questions from a few people, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, fire away.
I know it didn't look like there was a lot of questions on the comments. That's because a lot of them sent them to me in the DMs. I don't understand why they did it like that because they never do it like that. You know, but I'm going to start off with the most common question on my podcast from Terry Duffy, and he asked this on every single episode of my podcast. I think this is legit, like the I call this the Duffy question now because it's the same question on every podcast, but I love hearing it because I love everybody's different take on it. His
Right.
question is, if you could create a custom title, what would it look like, and what kind of match would you defend it in?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Jeez. Uh if well, so like whenever he says created, like what's the name of the title? Is that what he's meaning?
You could create your own custom title. What would the design look like? What would you name it? Like, would you base it off an old school championship or something of your own vision? And then whatever match you would like to defend it in.
Oh man, that's tough.
I think I
Oh,
like this question a lot too, actually.
it's a good question. I just never really think of like my own title. Like I do have creativity. It's just on the spot. It's kind of like, oh man, like what do I say? I don't. Oh man, that's a tough one. I do like the shoot. I do like the old school. I do like the old school Intercontinental title. I think that's really cool. Um, I think with that, I would do like an international type of title. So it's kind of like I know it's just off the top of my head right now. I'm sure I have better ideas, but like an international title to where you're fighting different, like your opponent is from like you fight it in a different country, or it's kind of like you defend it every single country. So it's like let's say if I was the champion and I'm living in the USA, I would fight someone in China, but I have to travel to China to fight them and to defend it. But if they win, it's kind of like they go to different. So it's like I would fly to different countries, and plus, like I like to travel too, so I think that would also be a benefit of that title as well. But I'm sure there's better ideas as well. But I mean, like there's definitely could be like a steel cage championship match where you just defend
Ooh,
it only in a steel cage. I think that'd be pretty cool.
that's pretty awesome answer, actually. I like the idea of defending it against somebody in the U.S. or if the person from China, you got to travel to China If they're from like Australia, you got to travel to Australia. That's a really interesting concept. I like that. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of like the IWTV championship where they just fight on IWTV, but like they fight just in the United States. So it's kind of like I know like the Intercontinental title, it's only held in WWE. So it's kind of like if you had an international championship and you just defend it in different countries, I think that'd be pretty cool. So it's kind of like an actual legit sport where it's like, okay, you have to travel to another country to fight them, and I think that'd be pretty cool. I don't know, it's just me though.
No, I like that idea. And the steel cage championship idea, or you said that would be in a steel cage only, or was that a separate title idea?
Steel cage only.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
works, man. I like that too. Like steel cage only. I dig that. You know, would it be one of the steel cages where you have to exit, or literally just that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think that would be cool to like just keep it in the cage because you have no room to go. Like you have nowhere to go. So I think it would be cool just like keep it in the cage, and if you leave, that means you're not like you surrender. You're not fighting anymore. So and
Oh,
that gives, yeah, and that gives like the like other people's ways of like okay like if they escape they win. So it's kind of like no, if you escape you forfeit. So it's kind of like that's your kind of give up clause, but. No, I think that'd be cool though to have a steel cage match, but it's just pinfall and submission only.
without a doubt. Going into steel cages before we go to the next question, were we talking like the old school WWF steel cage with the big blue like square bars? You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
or
I
are we
like.
talking chain link?
I'm thinking chain link. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I used to think the old school blue bar, like the big square bars, was a lot more easier to climb when I was younger, but I realized it's actually more likely to get hurt on that thing.
Right. Yeah.
So
I don't understand how people do it, but I've never been in a steel cage match before. That's definitely something on my list I'd like to be in, but it just depends on which promotion and like what kind of cages they have. So it's kind of like just the wait and see moment.
there you go. Yeah, Terry also had another question. His other question was, "What companies do you hope to work for in the future?" Now, I think we already went over this, but I'll let you go on again if you want.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, if it's, I'm assuming he's meaning like TV, television. That's yeah, definitely. Okay, I'll give you a top three. MLW. I mean, in no order. MLW, Impact, AEW. And but like, if I was to get any type of TV contract anywhere, I would be very thankful for the opportunity. So that's just simple as that. I definitely know that there's a lot more to like what's going on in the future with everything. So I definitely know MLW, Impact, and AEW. I think those would be some good end goals for as of right now. I wouldn't say like an official end goal, but just like an achievement unlocked or an achievement reached, and just go forward from there. But yeah, those are probably my top three as of right now.
Achievement unlocked, like a video game achievement
Yeah.
unlocked. I like that. So, speaking of video games, my next question is from Matt. Matt asks, "Do you play video games? If so, what's your favorite game?"
Ooh, I do. I don't play like Xbox or PlayStation. I'm the old school like Nintendo 64. That's
That's
me.
my favorite system right there.
Yes. Um, I can mention like Super Mario, Banjo Kazooie, Zelda. Zelda is probably my favorite game though, and I love it. So that's probably my favorite game. But I don't really do like the online streaming where it's like PS5 or Xbox One. I mean, it's still going to keep growing, but I've never actually had an Xbox. Probably because I didn't really have time for it, and that's just because growing up I was more into sports, and like I really didn't have much of. I mean, I had a social life, but nothing too crazy to where it's like, okay, I'm not going to have time to be online, or I'm not going to have time to like play video games. But when I do, it's more of like a day, like just one day out of like a couple of weeks or a couple of 3 weeks. So it's not like I'm on it religiously, but no, like Nintendo 64 is definitely one of my favorite console games, and so favorite game definitely Zelda. Any kind of Zelda game, and yeah, I love it.
That's awesome, man. That was my favorite system growing up, and I actually still have my N64. It's probably in a closet somewhere, but I still do have it. So,
What's your favorite game from the Nintendo 64?
oh man, Paper Mario.
Paper Mario. I've actually never. Wait, I think I played it once. I think I played
Okay,
Paper Mario once. I was more into like the Super Mario 64 and what else? Mario Kart.
Oh, I love Mario Kart too. So
Mario Kart's fun, man. And like, and also Super Smash Brothers. That's definitely breaking friendships right there. Like my buddies, I remember, I remember my freshman year of college. Like some of my buddies would come up and they're like, "Hey, like let's get this tournament going." And like literally, friendships were like out the window when we'd play that game. Like we just wouldn't hold back.
I think that was more with Mario Party for me because that was the one that always broke friendships because we always be like stealing each other's stars in the game. It was nuts.
Yeah, they're like, I'm gonna switch your coins, and I'm gonna steal, or I'm gonna get rid of my coins just to steal your star, and like you're just like, why would you do this to me? It's literally like psychological warfare, and and then you realize like when they're older, they're like, okay, like I see why they are the way they are. It's because of that damn game.
Yeah, I remember nights like that. We would be doing be doing the 50 round matchups, and we'd be going for like 3 hours and be sitting there really like that.
Yeah, we're like, we need more energy drinks. It's like you're in fourth grade. I don't care. I need it.
my my next question is from Phil. Phil asks, "What's your favorite food?"
Favorite food? Definitely steak. I like a nice ribeye. That's one of my favorites. Medium rare. Anything past that, I don't know.
I can't I'm not gonna knock anybody for this, but I don't see how anybody can eat like well done steak, man. It bugs me a lot.
Yeah, you know it's funny though. When I was growing up, I was conditioned on well done steak.
Oh, really?
I, d- yeah, like every time that like I was little and like my mom would order a steak or something like that, it's always been well done. And growing up, I would always get it well done. And then they're like, "Hey, like you need some flavor to it because you just drown it in steak sauce." So I ended up moving up to medium well, and then I ended up moving up to medium rare, and it gets all the juices, and you don't need anything. And so I've been a fan of medium rare steaks. So that's definitely a favorite of mine.
Man, I'm getting hungry right now.
I
From
feel
that
that,
right
man.
now, man. I'm gonna make a steak now. But so my next question is from Ari. Ari asks, "Who or what is your favorite superhero slash villain?"
Favorite superhero. I would say Batman, but I mean, I guess he's sort of like that, down the middle, like superhero, supervillain. But yeah, I love Batman, love
I think we'll
Superman.
go with hero on him. I think he's more known as a hero.
Yeah, but I would say, out of between Batman and Superman, probably Batman. That's just a cliche thing. But I grew up watching Batman my whole life. But him, Superman, Spider Man, definitely love Bane. Bane's awesome. Yeah, so I'm more of like I like the DC a lot, and then I guess on the Marvel side of things, I've already said Spider Man, but I do like Captain America and Iron
Okay,
Man. Yeah, so I like them.
I dig that. You speaking of Batman, did you see the trailer for the new Batman coming out?
No, I heard it's good though. Like I've seen people just say like this is awesome. So like I really need to. I probably as soon as we get finished with this, I'll probably hop on and check.
Definitely should, man. It's amazing. Trust me. So my next question is from Chris Michaels. Chris asks, "Oh, I think we went over this one too. But which indie promotions would you want to see yourself in down the line?" I guess we could do another
Yeah,
top.
sure. Why not? Tops. Definitely. I mean, I've already been at Chaotic. I would love to go back up there again. And APW Atlantic Pro Wrestling. Top three, no order. Limitless, Beyond, probably Invictus.
All right.
Yeah, and then I'll throw in NEW as well. But yeah, I mean, just any of those promotions, Blitzkrieg, Test of Strength, Pro Wrestling Magic, JCW. There's a lot on Point Wrestling. Yeah, there's definitely a lot up there. So, but top three though, Limitless, Beyond, and Invictus. Oh, and GSW, Global Syndicate Wrestling. Yeah, I'd
Okay.
like to. Yeah, I think they're out of New Jersey as well. But yeah, I'd like to go
Yeah,
there.
they're buddies with Invictus, so I definitely think. I think if you get an Invictus somehow, you'll also be able to wrestle over there because a lot of those guys at Invictus end up wrestling in GSW and vice versa.
Oh, nice. I'll look
So
into that.
alrighty. And my last question, man, I think I already asked this one too. My last question from Josh, he asked, "Which wrestling did you watch growing up?" But we already went over that.
Yes. WCW was something I grew up watching. I didn't really grow up watching WWF. I did know about Stone Cold and The Rock and Chris Jericho. Um, I started watching WWE when I was in third grade, fourth grade, around that area. Watching TNA. I didn't really start watching New Japan until I came down to. I remember seeing the old school like Rick. Well, actually, let's see. Lucha Underground. I started watching it when it first came out, and then they talked about Prince Puma, and it was really Ricochet. And so I YouTubed one of his matches, and it was like him and Will Ospreay. That's actually how I found Will Ospreay. And then it turns out there's a promotion called New Japan Pro Wrestling, and so I looked into that, and I was like, "Oh man, this is so awesome!" So I was looking into. I watched some New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff like that. But yeah, I watch anything on TV though, but I haven't seen like I don't have cable at the house, so I really don't watch any WWE. Right now, I just keep up with the storylines and see what's going on in the world. I do watch some AEW, Impact here and there, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And the AEW, I'll definitely watch whenever I get a chance. But yeah, those are a few right now.
Got you. But you like that when you see something and you go to look for something online within wrestling and then you end up finding something else that you're really into in wrestling.
Yes.
Like that's how I ended up finding about it's funny story because not to get off your topic, but I a while back when I first started getting into NEW, I got really into Insanely Rude, the tag team over there, and I was looking for matches with them outside of NEW on YouTube. And then I discovered another tag team that I absolutely fell in love with, the Stepdads, which had me dying laughing. And I was like dying for them to come to NEW because that was like the only promotion I was going to at the time. And then when the pandemic hit and I didn't have NEW to go to, I was like miserable. And then I found out about Test of Strength. And I was like, all right, well, let me see. And my buddy was like, hey, you should come to TOS. And they're like, yeah, I'll try, I guess. I'm more of an NEW guy kind of through and through. And then I was looking at the card and I found out the Stepdads were on there. I'm like, wait, I've seen them on YouTube, and it got me so stoked. And I was like, I gotta go now to support them because had I not been searching them on YouTube by accident and finding them, I would never have found them. So that's the coolest thing in the world.
It is awesome. It's kind of like it's an accident that just happened to like fall in your lap, and you're just like, wow, like I found something more amazing, and like it's just like that rabbit hole of like, okay, like I'm more focused on this, but now I see this, I want to be more focused on that now. So it is pretty cool how that happens.
Yeah, and then after I found them, I start, what's it called? Voicing my stuff on Twitter, being like, what would be cool to see in NEW would be the Stepdads, and they out of nowhere start getting these notifications, and they're like, who is this guy? But thank you so much and everything
Right.
out of nowhere, and then I'm pushing and pushing. I'm very vocal on Twitter on who I'd like to see in promotions, so. So I am always pushing guys I'd love to see in like Invictus, TOS, and NEW because there's guys I'll always see in Invictus that I want to see over in NEW. Then there's guys in NEW I want to see in like Test of Strength, and then there's guys from Test of Strength I'd like to see in NEW, and it's they're all over the place. But I'm pretty vocal on that stuff.
Oh yeah, I get that too, and I know that there's some people that are, hey, like come here, hey, come there. And it's just like like if whenever the time comes, that's when I will be there. Yeah, so it's definitely one of those things that I've seen. There's so many wrestlers that I've seen like growing up before, like before being a wrestler myself, and it's like, oh, that'd be cool if they went to like AJ Styles, for example. It's like, oh, it'd be so cool if he went to WWE, and he did. And there's like the rumor mill spinning and stuff like that. So like in that end, it's pretty cool. It's kind of like, oh yeah, like, I want to see this person come down here to the neck of the woods, and like maybe we can have a match. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that's how like I start. Like I said, I see all these guys in different promotions, and I just start imagining like dream matches in my head, and then I'll put together like 100 scenarios in my head, and I'll be like tagging their promotions left and right every day. I'm like, I'd love to see this guy take on this guy. That'd be really cool. And then my other buddies would be doing it, and then I'm starting to think in my head like, wow, their promoters are either really enjoying this or they're really getting annoyed with me.
Right. I get that a lot.
no, but it's really awesome to to accidentally find people, and then on YouTube or through the other promotions, then you want to start like getting to see them. It's really funny actually. I didn't even know anything about Creative Pro Wrestling until I accidentally stumbled on them because I was looking for Waves and Curls who wrestle
Mhm.
in Northeast Wrestling on YouTube, and I stumbled upon them by accident because there was a match like the Waves and Curls versus the Even Stevens, and I had no idea who they were until I stumbled on it because they had a match. I guess I think it was in either Limitless or Chaotic, and instantly right there I got hooked again. It's just like I keep finding all these new promotions. It makes me excited.
It's always a good feeling. It's always a good feeling to see different. It's not like you're not like like you're bored of their product. You're just looking at it. You're like, okay, like you've seen like what they can do, and you're seeing all these awesome matches. But then it's kind of like you segue, and you're like, oh, like these like they're facing against this team. Let's go segue on like what's going on there, and it's pretty cool to like have that connection, just having different like being fans of different people that you see coming along.
Exactly. But that's all the questions I have. Landon, thank you so much, my man, for coming on the Sign Rip podcast with Joey G today. Do you got any social media links you want to drop?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it sincerely. So social media links, you can go to Facebook. I have a fan page there. It's Landon Hale. Not hard to find. I think I'm the only one, maybe. I don't know. You can go to Instagram. It's Landon Hale 3. Twitter at Hale Yeah 3. And then if you go to YouTube, you can type in my name, Landon Hale, and you will be able to see some of my videos. I have highlights, full-length matches, anything you'd want to see on there. So there you go. Go find me.
That's awesome. Landon, once again, thank you so much for coming on the Sign Rip podcast with Joey G today. I really enjoyed having you on. This was a fun experience. Yeah, once again, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you, Joey, for having me.
Without a doubt, man. And for everybody who's listening and watching this episode of the Sign Rip podcast with Joey G, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you all have a good night.